And we are live. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome. My name is Luke. I will be your teacher for this class. I am an American teacher. I'm an English teacher. This is an English class for English learners. So if you're not one of those, get out of here. If you are, welcome. Great to have you. Today we're going to be doing some interesting things. We're going to be Why is my voice cracking like that? I'm only 15 years old and I'm going through puberty. It's a very difficult time. Anyway, very exciting changes. So we're going to be talking about immersion. Immersion is how you have an environment that helps you learn because you're in the environment, not just studying. This is what you get when you go to a country and live there, an English-speaking country, for example, and live there, and that helps you improve your English. That's what we're talking about. But how do you do that without living in another country? Without getting a visa and spending 6 months in the United States washing dishes at a part-time job just so that you can practice your English with the waiters or whatever. People have done that, by the way. That's why I mention it. I know someone who did that. So, we'll talk about that. We have some other things as well. We're going to look at some cool stuff. If you have questions, ask them. If you missed this and you're watching later, well, make sure you catch it next time and get your questions ready. We've had some really good questions in the previous few live classes. The questions, I feel, are getting better and better, more and more interesting. We're slightly moving away from the can you tell me the difference between A and B questions, which we had most of when we were starting out. So the questions are getting definitely more interesting. You can ask about pronunciation, culture, learning methods, vocabulary, of course, grammar, of course, all of that stuff. But I like interesting questions. So the more interesting, the better. If I can't answer a question, I'll just say I can't answer it. Some questions take a lot of research and thinking. You know, for example, if I make a video about something, usually it means I have to research it and think about it and plan it. So there are two different sorts of things, right? Let's see, what else? Well, I would appreciate, if you haven't already, and this is something that is, I think, very important, but might not be important to you, please hit the like button. I would appreciate that a lot. You can use your thumb, you can use your finger, you can use your pinky, you can use your wrist, maybe, if you have a, well, maybe, and you can use your nose if you want. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you use. Just make sure you hit the like button. That helps the channel out a lot. And also, if you want to see future live lessons, future live streams, future videos, whatever it may be, make sure you subscribe. So you can hit that also with any of your appendages. I don't care which one. And last thing, if you are a serious English learner, make sure you check out my full courses in the links in the description. In fact, before we get started, I want to just talk about the courses a little bit, just because I want to sort of communicate what they're about. So, my English courses are part of the English content that I make. Right? I do YouTube videos. Obviously, those are free. I do these live lessons. Obviously, those are free. And I do courses. And one of those is free, but it's an hour long. Most of them are not, and they're much, much longer. 3 hours, 5 hours, 7 hours, 15 hours. Now, why would any of you be interested in giving me your money to buy a course if you can just watch my YouTube videos? It's a good question. So, YouTube is sort of topic by topic, piece by piece, here and there, whatever I feel like talking about. Random, I can talk about vocabulary words for fruit if I want to, right? And it's not a system of learning that is planned out so that you get the maximum impact from that, right? It's not something that's been built for you to move through lesson by lesson, each lesson building on the previous lesson, so that by the end of it, you can actually achieve something that you can see. Now, yeah, you can do that with YouTube videos. Yeah, sure, I guess you can. Piece by piece here and there. But a course, and I take courses too, a course is coherent and it's in depth on a specific topic. Take the pronunciation course. We have over 2,000 reviews on the pronunciation course. It's one of the highest rated courses on the platforms that it's on. That course is 3 hours, and it moves through specific sections focusing on only one kind of thing. We're only talking about the basic sounds to express yourself clearly in English. We're not talking about new words and vocabulary. There's no music. There's no, hey, make sure you, there's none of that stuff. It's just, here's a lesson about this that moves into a lesson that's close to that, related to that, and adds to it to enhance your skills in a more concentrated way. And that's why I take online courses, because it's just, someone has taken their time to put in a lot of work to plan out something that I can actually achieve. I can get a certificate at the end of it, all of that stuff. So I would urge you, if you're serious, to check out the courses in the links in the description. And if you just want access to the courses, you can even do a membership. So for $11.99, you can get access to all my courses each month. As many months as you're a member, or you can buy them one by one. It's up to you. So check those out in the links in the description. Okay? Sorry for self-promotion, guys. I deeply apologize. Lolly Lolly says shadowing method and mimicking method. What's the difference? Well, is mimicking the name of a method? I'm not sure. I couldn't just be unaware of that fact. Maybe I'm just not aware of. I know what mimicking means, right? Mimicking means to copy a sound, but I'm not aware of mimicking as a method for improving pronunciation. Shadowing is when you actually copy the sounds that you hear for pronunciation, right? Yeah, we can talk about this one. Let me just see if that is a thing, though, really quickly. Let me do a Google search here. Let me check it out. Let me just check out a Google search. I have my own understanding of what mimicking means, but I want to double check and see if it's a method or not. Mimicking method. I like the way that you choose two words and make a comparison between. Oh, you like that? That's my least favorite thing. That's my least favorite kinds of questions. I find it somewhat boring. I'm willing to do it, but it's my least favorite kind of question. The mimic method is an approach developed by language trainer Idahosa Ness to teach language learners the sound system of a new language. Idahosa has learned Spanish, French, German, and Mandarin Chinese, all as an adult, and he's found the most effective way to learn languages by ear. Okay, great, but what's the difference between a mimic method, focus on the sounding, all right, so what I need to do is research the difference between the mimic method and the shadowing method before I answer that question. It's an interesting one. I'm going to put it down in my notes, actually, because it's the first time I've heard of that, and it might be interesting to talk about, but I just need to understand it better. I definitely know shadowing. Shadowing is well known. It's possible that mimicking is just another, that the mimic method is just another name for shadowing, but it's also possible that it's something completely different. I'm writing it in my ideas book. Lolly lolly. All right. Good question. Sorry I can't answer it. Alyssa Marie's totally blind. Oh, how sad. How sad. Google is our friend. Yes, Google is our friend, but to get a really in-depth understanding of it, right? I might have to do even more research. Maybe watch a couple videos just to see. Just to see. Let's see. Do we have any other questions up here? All right. Well, so sorry I have to prepare myself to take my pre-dawn meal. Ah, yes. It's Ramadan. I forgot. Right. Do that. Don't forget to have some coffee as well, because as I understand it, during the day, you're not allowed to have coffee. So make sure you do that. Big piece of chocolate cake and some coffee before sunrise. Okay. Well, I have some things I want to talk about. So I'll talk about what I want to talk about. If you guys have questions, you can ask your questions, okay? We're going to do a bit of an exploration. Now, you guys may have heard me many times talk about Reddit. Reddit is an online community with a lot of smaller communities around certain interests. It's also been called the front page of the internet. You've probably heard me talk about it before. Now, why do I talk about it? I talk about it because it's a great way, in my opinion, to get immersion without going abroad to an English-speaking country to get it. Now, you can obviously go to an English-speaking country and live there for a certain period of time and interact with the locals. And that's good. But you can do that you can have that without going to another country. If you don't live in America or Canada, right? You can use Reddit. It's a great way to immerse yourself in the language. I talked about before the YouTuber named PewDiePie. One of the things that brought him deeper into the English language, not only knowing the vocabulary and the words, but also the references, the cultural references that make watching movies so hard, that make listening to native conversations so hard. This is one of the ways to get that, right? To have exposure, to get into the language, to be part of a community and not just learning vocabulary. So, what we're going to do is we're going to look at Reddit, and I'm going to kind of show you how to use it a little bit. I'm going to show you how to interact with Reddit so that you can actually get a feeling for how to immerse yourself in it. Again, it's just one of your tools, all right? So how do you use Reddit? How can you make for yourself or build for yourself a community or a way to surround yourself with the language? Let's check it out, all right? So what I'm going to do is make myself tiny, yoink, and then in my tiny form, I'm going to zip over to Reddit. And here we are. Here we are. Okay? Now, this is the main page. This is the front page of Reddit. I'm going to move this over a little bit so you can see better. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. Yes, very good. Okay. Now, here we are on the main page, and I am on the tab called Popular. I'm way zoomed in here, okay? Now, this is just going to be main posts. So if you just want to get the reason that it's called the front page of the internet is because they have popular posts that are posted from around the internet, things that are shared that are then upvoted. You can see this 12.7K here, right? People hit the arrow up and they hit the arrow down if they don't like it, up if they like it, okay? So on many different topics. Ignore the movie poster. I don't know what that's about. I guess that's just an advertisement. People vote up what they vote up. Here's a picture of some deer and cherry blossoms in Nara Park in Japan. Here's a video of a guy playing the saxophone. Some of this stuff is useless and pointless, and that's fine. But then there's more useful stuff. Here's a news story. And you can see at the top of each of these, there is an R, right? And then a /, and then the name of the subreddit. It's called a subreddit. This is our politics. This is our world news. This is our news. So first, this is a great news source. So if I just go to Reddit World News, boink, and I click on that, now I'm in the Reddit World News community. And I can join it, right? If I zoom out a little bit, I can, oh, I've already joined it. You can see I've joined it, okay? Now, I can check out the posts, I can read articles, I can see headlines, and each one is connected to a link, so I can read the articles. But then you can see that there are conversations happening down here. Down in the comments, I might get involved in a thread. It's called a thread around the topic of the article. Someone has posted this, maybe I disagree with this, I hit reply, I reply, they reply to me, we get in a fight. Oh, beautiful. What could be better than that, right? So Reddit News is a great place to get news, but it's also a great place to interact with people who are interested in the same thing. Now, news, I would say, is pretty general, right? But you get the idea. I'm surrounding myself with it. And the cool thing about Reddit, for example, World News, this community, is that you're getting many different news sources. There will be articles from news sources around the world. If you only look at one news source, you're probably getting a bit of a bias. If you're looking at an aggregator of news, like World News, you're getting many different perspectives. So that's pretty cool. So you get that immersion, that information that allows you to communicate with others because you know what's going on in the world in English. So you're improving your English as you read articles, and you learn about the world, and you're interacting with people. Now, I know it's not voice, you're not talking with them, but you're still practicing your interaction skills. Okay. Now, what if I'm interested in something very specialized? Okay, maybe you are. There are subreddits for specific movies. There are subreddits for almost anything that you can imagine. So let's just search one. Let's search dinosaurs. And I'm going to search, oh, did I do it? Oh, I'm way zoomed in. Let me zoom out so that I can actually see what I'm doing here. Okay. Oh, all right. All right. So Reddit dinosaurs, 84.7 thousand members. And now I'm in Reddit dinosaurs. Now, there are a bunch of posts around dinosaurs. Now, if you're not interested in dinosaurs, then don't search Reddit dinosaurs, okay? This is just for people who might have an interest in dinosaurs or want to talk with others about dinosaurs. Now, this one in particular looks a little silly. This doesn't look like a scientific subreddit, but there are some subreddits which are very scientific, which may focus on, maybe another one about dinosaurs, may focus on discoveries of new dinosaur fossils, and theories about which dinosaur bones mean what, and all of that kind of stuff, right? So this seems to be just kind of media and art and that kind of thing related to dinosaurs. Personally, not that interesting. I want to learn the science of dinosaurs, so I would probably search another one. Now, there are some very popular subreddits. For example, philosophy. Subreddit philosophy is a good one. Our philosophy. Also, I really like shower thoughts. One of the most famous ones is called Shower Thoughts. Shower Thoughts. And Reddit Shower Thoughts is what it's called. It has, how many members does it have? 20 million members. Crazy. Now, this is just things that people think in the shower. So if you have profound ideas that you suddenly realize that no one else has thought of before, and, sorry, that's my cat meowing. My cat is probably on Reddit meow, or Reddit cats, or Reddit give me chicken. If you have ideas that maybe no one else has ever thought of, or some new way, usually it's a new way of looking at something, you might post it on Reddit Shower Thoughts. That's forcing you to kind of think in English to compose something clearly in an interesting way. You're using your English skills to make something clear that then other people can enjoy. And you know people are enjoying it if they upvote your shower thought or whatever post that you make. Let's see what we got here. Dogs always expect us to share our food with them, but look at us weird when we get close to their bowl. Okay, that's a weird one. I guess so. I guess that's right. Drug tests are only tests where having less knowledge of the subject are the only tests where having less knowledge of the subject makes you more likely to pass. Less knowledge of the subject makes you more likely to... Yeah, I guess so. I guess that makes sense. Oh, that's an interesting perspective. Okay, so this is the idea, and you can, if you're interested in food, if you're interested in travel, if you're interested in a specific movie, in philosophy, in whatever you might be interested in, there is a community based on that thing. You can find it, you can interact. There are 377 comments under this one Reddit shower thought post, right? And then you're part of something, and you do it every day. And you enjoy it. If you enjoy interacting in a community, if you enjoy learning, if you enjoy surrounding yourself with the language, and again, Reddit is just one example, then you're going to learn faster. You're going to, when you hear someone reference something in a movie or a TV show, you might start to actually get it. You might say, oh, I get it. It's not just about the words that they say. That's not why it's hard to understand. It's hard to understand because you don't know the cultural reference. Many of the cultural references live here, okay? Among other places. It's just one of your resources. I suggest that you use it. Okay? So let me pop back to my original form. Can I do that? Back to me. All right. So I would encourage you guys to challenge yourself to join a couple of subreddits and start interacting in them. Find your interests in English and use those as windows into the language. Follow something like World News so that you can find out what's relevant in the world and read those articles in English. Force yourself to read the articles in English and the comments in English, and try to respond to one or two of the comments in the comment thread underneath of a post that you're interested in. Check out the main page and see what's popular. What's going on in the English-speaking world? This is the front page of the internet, all right? I encourage you to do it. If you do it, I think you'll improve faster, and you might even enjoy it. All right. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe, and also check out my full English courses in the links in the description. All right. Hopefully that was interesting. Reddit shower thoughts. Reddit in general. I am a big fan of Reddit. I check it every day. Luba, the only thing Luba says, I tried it, but I prefer Quora. Quora, I wouldn't regard Quora as a community, but Reddit is sort of a community. Reddit, you actually get to know people in your group. You know, you get to know the people who are posting and commenting a little bit. Quora is good. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, Quora is a way to ask and answer questions on specific topics, but it really is more of just the ask and answer questions type of thing, and it doesn't feel as immersive as Reddit does, but it's good. It's still good. It's just not quite as immersive. What's the name of the page that I was talking about? It's called, well, which one? I talked about several. Shower Thoughts, maybe. Shower Thoughts is a funny one, but I would encourage you to just go on and swim around and see what you find. Hang out. Whatever you're interested in. First, identify your interest. Next, Find the pages that you like. Find the subreddits that you like. First, follow your interests. All right, so if you guys have any questions, let me know. It's now time for any questions that you may have. I'm happy to answer them. Q&A time. If you guys have questions about culture, other websites, other services, other platforms, grammar, punctuation, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. I guess in the meantime, I'm just going to go back and check out a few more subreddits. Yoink. All right. Let's see what we got here. So I'm zooming in here so that people can see, but it means that it's navigating is a little awkward. Going down to... Okay. See, this is a specific movie, Annihilation movie. That's one movie. There's a whole Reddit community based on that. Automate, anthropology, Bernie Sanders, books, China, Chinese food, coronavirus, democratic socialism, dragons, existentialism, H3 Productions, history porn. Now, history porn doesn't mean it is porn. It's called history porn. It's very interesting images from history. Very interesting stuff. I'm in one called the Marble Machine X group, and this one is focused on this crazy machine that this guy is building. His name is Martin. And Martin is building this incredibly complex marble machine. He built an earlier version before, and now he's building a more complex version. He's been working on it for years. And this community is centered around his project. And people post things and share things around this crazy machine here. He lives in France. He's from Sweden. He's in a band called... I think it's called Vintergarten, is maybe how you say it. I could be wrong. And these, I believe it was originally inspired by this video of balls coming out of these tubes. This is a digital video, though. I mean, this is a computer-generated video. And, for example, each week he posts a video. You can check out the Vintergarten YouTube channel. Last week he was posting one about... this, which is the guitar part of the machine that he's building. And some people think it's totally boring. My brother thinks it's the stupidest thing in the world. We had a big argument about it. He thinks it's pointless. I personally am a big fan. I think it's awesome. And I think this project is very cool. Very, very cool. See, this crazy bass, and then the marbles will fall on the strings of the bass between these dividers and make very cool music. And again, he's been working on this thing for years now. I think he's very frustrated by it, and sometimes gets very depressed, which is also interesting as a viewer. Yeah, so this is a cool subreddit. I sometimes comment on this subreddit and interact with the people here because I care about it. I think it's interesting. I like it. I enjoy it. Luis Diego Rodriguez Jenkins, holy moly, that's a long name, says, what's the secret of a good job interview? All right, that's a good one to talk about. I'll leave this subreddit here. See, people are posting ideas to the channel. You can fight in the comments on Quora and subscribe on your favorite spheres of life. For example, learning languages. Yeah. I have nothing against Quora. I would never criticize Quora. I think it's an awesome resource. I love it. Yeah, I guess to each their own, right? I sometimes read Quora comments too. For some reason, I just feel a little bit more at home here in the mountains. These green mountains with these birds and this dude here, that's actually me, A picture of myself I took yesterday when I was in the mountains looking at some birds. Looking here. This is where my lunch was, and I was very hungry. I had to walk all the way down here around these trees. I had to swim across this lake, and then I climbed up this mountain, and I was so hungry. My God. Okay. So, pop in this question here from Luis Diego Rodriguez Jenkins. Good question. Luis Diego Rodriguez Jenkins says, what is the secret of a good job interview? Okay. Now, this is advice both for people in general who are doing job interviews and for English language learners or people who are doing English interviews who don't speak English natively. One of the big mistakes that people make in a job interview is to memorize exactly what they're going to say if they ask you certain questions. So why is this a problem? For a couple reasons. It is a big issue, and you should never do it. Number one, if you memorize an answer and you are basically reading in your head, which is what memorization is, you're reading in your mind, I can tell. It's obvious. It's easy to tell when someone is reciting from memory compared to speaking naturally. Do you think I'm recalling things from memory right now? A script? And no, I'm not. I barely know what I'm about to say next. It's a real struggle for me. So, it's going to sound fake, and if you've said something like, I'm a great communicator, and let me tell you a couple of reasons why. First, you're a great communicator, but you're not communicating with me. You're reading a script that you wrote before that you're just telling me. You're not a great communicator. You're a memorizer person robot. Get out. I have actually, so one of the things that I do is I help to recruit and train teachers from around the world. I'm in charge of a team that recruits teachers, right? So I've interviewed many people, hundreds of people. And there's a question that we ask to decide this. The question we ask is, can you talk about a time when you've had to think on your feet and handle something unexpected? Now, we ask this question for a very specific reason. Number one, we want people to talk about the example, but actually it's a secret question. It's a trick question. We actually don't care that much about the example. What we care about is how they express themselves when they're talking about the example. Are they a good communicator? They're about to potentially become a teacher on our platform, right? If they can't express themselves well and tell a good story and explain something clearly, they have no chance. Sometimes people respond the next day with their example, perhaps in video form. And you can tell, I can tell, that it's been memorized, that they've worked on it and memorized it. Immediately, we don't even think about it for 2 more seconds. It doesn't matter what the content is. It doesn't matter what they're talking about. We just say, no, done, out, bye, refuse, rejected. Because the nature of being in a workplace, the nature of being someone who works with others and giving proposals, and especially being an English teacher, is to be able to express yourself in an unexpected situation, to not know what people are going to ask. For example, how do I give a good job interview? What's the secret to a good job interview, right? You have to be able to see that, not know it was going to be there, and then talk about it. And if you can't do that, I'm afraid it's going to be hard to be a teacher in general. It's a skill that you develop. Okay, so that's just one example. But it's very important for that very important reason that you can just tell. The other reason that it's important, that it's a mistake, rather, to avoid memorizing is that you memorize for 10 questions they might ask you, But if they ask you a question that's almost the same as what you prepared for, and then you answer with what you memorized, it might not quite fit. And then the interviewer is thinking, you didn't really answer my question exactly. Not only are you reading from a script in your head, but you're kind of off the point. Get out, right? So no one would say it like that, but that's the idea, right? So what do? Well, you don't do that. You instead prepare for questions in the right way. You say, for example, I think they might ask me about a time when I struggled. Very common question. I think they might ask me a time when I've achieved something. I think they might ask me a time when I've had to be a leader. I think they might ask me about a time when I've had to maybe deal with something in a limited time frame. I think they might ask me how I would handle a situation related to my industry. All right, so you write down what you think they might ask you. And then you can make little outlines or think of examples. If you don't write it down, it's okay. At least think of the kind of thing you're going to say. If they ask me about this kind of thing, previous work experience working with a difficult person, I'm going to talk about that time I worked with Deborah. Deborah was tough to work with. Oh, Deborah. She was my colleague, and we were hired actually in the same week. And okay, but I'm going to answer it in a way that shows a good characteristic of myself. Maybe, for example, I really struggled with Deborah for a couple weeks, and then I figured out how to interact with Deborah on her terms. After I read a book, I read a really good book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it made me realize, you know what? I'm always arguing with Deborah. Do I have to argue with Deborah? Maybe I can figure out how to interact with Deborah on her terms. Maybe I can figure out her interaction style. Now, Deborah's a fictional person, but I'm answering the question how I might. And then I'll give a specific example of something that I did to better interact with Deborah that improved our relationship. And then I'll talk about later. And then after that, Deborah and I did ... together, and we won a prize for whatever it is. You want to turn a negative into a positive to show your good characteristics and your skills. But you don't plan out the whole answer. The words that you say are not that important. The content is important. And being able to express yourself clearly is important. But don't map out and plan out every single word. You get the idea. I'm going to talk about Deborah if they ask me about difficult people. That's all you need. I will talk about Deborah. If they ask me about this, I'll talk about that. Now, if you want to, you can write down simple outlines, little outlines, very simple outlines for yourself. But I don't think it's necessary. You don't have to do that. And prepare for 40, 50 questions in your head. Don't memorize. Go into the interview. You will feel confident. If they ask me this, I'm going to talk about it. Your English is not perfect. It's okay. Perfect English is not the most important thing for most employers. If you're in the room, they know you're not a native English speaker. It's okay. It's okay, right? It's all about your ability to express yourself and communicate. So hopefully that answers your question, Luis, or Louis. It's something that I really care about. I do have a course on this. If you're interested in really working on this and preparing, in the links in the description, you will click on that and see one of the courses is called Mastering Job Interview English. It is a 3-hour course. It includes, I believe it's 7 or 10 PDFs, plus many lessons, over 50 job interview questions that you may face, lessons about how to build your resume, how to prepare for the interview. All of this stuff is covered. It's a pretty in-depth, hopefully clear course about job interview English and handling a job interview in English. So if that's something you're interested in, check out that course. Again, don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for the question. It's a good one. Yeah. Okay. I want to speak English like you. Well, I want to speak English like you. Let's trade. Foot the bill and my treat. Are they the same? No. That's a good one, though. I like it. 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 I'll pop that one up later. How about and what about? Are they interchangeable? Yes, they are. Usually. Almost always. Mary says, "Hi, Luke from Iran. I see you are doing a great job again." That's just your opinion. There might be plenty of people who don't think so. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Pratik says, "What are your thoughts on call center jobs where people repeat the same lines over and over?" But that would happen naturally, right? That would happen organically. You would be saying the same things because the customers are experiencing the same issues. So surely you will eventually settle down on a few phrases that will be handy or useful to you, right? But that's going to be a natural process based on the situations that you encounter. And I wouldn't worry about, say, okay, I'm going to memorize 100 lines for customer service. You will start to use certain things just because you handle so many situations so many times that you want to die, and it's just convenient to pop out that line when you need it. But that's a different story. We're not talking about a job interview. We're talking about customer service. And customer service, you got to do what you got to do to stay sane and to express yourself clearly and to handle things efficiently. So I think it's more acceptable to use set lines, but it's probably not something you need to build out and prepare in advance. I think it's just something that you would come to, or you would figure out over time. I do have a course on customer. I know I'm promoting the courses a lot today. Apologies, everyone. I'm sorry. I do have a full course, a 7-hour course on customer service English, but it's well, I do. Do you recommend that I practice English as words or sentences? Definitely sentences. If you learn words by themselves, that's a mistake. Don't do it. Got to learn in context. It's not that you have to learn the whole sentence, but you're learning the word in the sentence, and you're seeing the meaning of the word in its usage. And then you're maybe making a sentence of your own to create the meaning of the word in its usage. Otherwise, what's the point of learning words? Using words is the point of learning words, right? So you want to try to get it in context and use it in context so that when you're in a conversation, bink, you're able to just pop it out of your mouth and not think about it too much. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of isolated things swimming around in your head that you cannot use. And there's nothing more sad than that. Nothing more sad, right? Okay. Let's talk about Alyssa's question. Alyssa Marie's totally blind. I don't understand your name. I think it's cool, but I don't understand it. I don't understand why you have this name. I mean, if you are totally blind, you probably wouldn't say it like that, because that emphasizes it too much. I'm deeply confused. Okay, well, anyway, let's pop up the question. All right, so Alyssa Marie's totally blind. That's not a statement. That is a name. Says, foot the bill and my treat. Are they the same? They are the same in the broadest possible way. Not in their usage, but in their basic meaning. Their basic meaning is one person is going to pay for something when someone else could, or perhaps when the cost could be shared between two people or between members of a group, among members of a group. Usually, we're talking about an individual. We could be talking about a small group of people as well, if we're talking about, usually, foot the bill. Now, how do we differentiate these? What's the difference? Their usage is very different. If someone says, my treat, or it's on me, my treat, it's on me, what they mean is, I'm going to pay for this, and usually we're talking about meals. Now, most of the time in America, people share or split the bill. The default assumption. Okay? In some countries, it's weird to do that. In America, people will assume if we go have lunch together and we're friends, I'll pay for my food, you pay for your food, or we'll just split it in half if we got about the same amount of stuff. We'll just share the bill. We'll split it. We don't even have to say it. We don't have to say, shall we split the bill? You could, but you don't have to. People will assume that. But maybe there's a special occasion. Or maybe I know that I make way more money than you do, and I want to eat lunch at a very expensive restaurant, and I want you to go with me, but I assume that it might be a little expensive for you, right? Maybe it's, I don't know, $50 per person to eat lunch here, which is kind of expensive, right? And so I say, hey, why don't we eat at Blomberto's? That's a restaurant I just made up. Blomberto's, very nice restaurant. Ethiopian food. Oh, delicious. Blomberto's Ethiopian restaurant. Oh, yeah, I don't know. And then I recognize the situation. I say, it's my treat. It's my treat to make you relax so that you will agree because I really want to go there. I've decided before we even go there that I will pay. Usually we'll say it beforehand. Now, if we go to a restaurant and for some reason one person just wants to pay, which usually you don't need to do, they might say it after. As the bill comes, the waiter or waitress brings it, my treat, my treat. Or they'll say, I've got it. I've got it. I've got it. I've got it? Yeah. It means I take the bill and I pay the whole thing. So if it's after the bill comes, you can say my treat. You can say I've got it. Or you can say it's on me. It's on me. Now I can also use it's on me before lunch. I can say lunch is on me. Lunch is on me. Hey, do you want to get some lunch? It's on me. Hey, do you want to go grab some lunch at what did I say? Bombardo's Ethiopian restaurant? It's on me. My treat. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So that's how we use I've got it, it's on me, and my treat. What about foot the bill? Now, we don't usually foot the bill for a restaurant situation unless it's a huge gathering of people and this is a kind of event. Then we might say it. When we're talking about big projects, when we're talking about big events, we're talking about something that has a budget, basically, then we might use foot the bill. Foot the bill for what? For the wedding. Oh, her father is quite wealthy, and he's decided to foot the bill for the wedding, which is going to take place in Tahiti or wherever, right? To foot the bill means to cover the entire cost of this big thing. But we wouldn't do it in the same way that we would use it in a restaurant. We wouldn't say, I'll foot the bill, I'll foot the bill. It's something that is decided well in advance, usually, and it's someone who can pay for something. It doesn't have to be one person, though. You could say the bride's parents have decided to foot the bill for the wedding cost, including all of the hotel rooms for the guests who will be arriving in Tahiti. They've decided to foot the bill to cover this large cost. But this is a bigger thing than going to a restaurant, right? And usually it's voluntary. Usually it's something they decide to do. We could foot the bill for other kinds of things. Projects, right? If we have to hire a couple of people to do a project, maybe some developers or a marketing team to do something, we could use someone decided to foot the bill for that as well, perhaps. So it's events, things with a budget, big events, big things, things going on. Now, if it's a huge, huge thing, like a movie, then you could say the studio had to foot the bill for the entire film. They were supposed to share the expense and pay for the budget, split the cost of the budget, but then one of the studios backed out and the other studio was left to foot the bill for the entire movie. You could do that too. That's not a person, that's a company, so it can be used in that way. It's bigger stuff. It might be less common in that kind of situation, but then again, the whole expression foot the bill is not that common compared to something like my treat. Okay, so hopefully these are very clear. I hope I've made them clear. If you guys have any questions about it, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe or follow. And check out my full English courses in the links in the description. All right. That's a good question. Hopefully I answered it clearly. Greetings from China. Pocket Soap. What a funny name. Pocket Soap. Cool name. I like it. I'm going to change my name to shoe lotion. Go Dutch. Split the bill at a restaurant. Same meaning? Yes, but it's rare for people to say go Dutch. I think English learners are told that people use go Dutch. I've never said go Dutch in my entire life, except for when I'm telling people that nobody says it. So no, going Dutch is not common, but split the bill is common. Nobody tips a bummed out waitress mean. I don't know if that's a specific expression for a specific context, but I assume what it means is you tip based on the personality of the waiter or waitress. If your waiter is like, hey, welcome to Bombardo's Ethiopian restaurant, I guess. Welcome. I'm not tipping you, okay? Not friendly. But if your waiter or waitress comes up and says, hey, welcome to Bombardo's Ethiopian restaurant. What would you like to drink? Can I get you something to start off with? Or, that would be very common. So that's just my guess. There may be a totally different meaning. S.H. Jovi here says, can you answer my question? I think I just kind of did. It's not really, I don't know the expression, but conhecendo electrica. Cool name. I just don't know how to say it. I think I will never speak English. Oh, that's sad. I'm sure you can if you try. Sometimes the only thing you can do is just try. And it doesn't matter how silly you look. It doesn't matter how funny it sounds. The more you try, the faster you will improve. That is a fact. Shavim says, Luke, I am from India and my English is very weak. Keep working at it. I'm sure you'll improve if you keep practicing. Make sure you try your best to speak as often as possible. If someone got used to memorizing things, if they don't do it, it's really tough to express themselves, or they won't be confident. So what should they do instead of memorizing? Develop this skill. This question makes me angry, but I will mention it quickly. Okay, you're used to memorizing. You've got yourself into the habit of memorizing. So stop and start speaking as you speak in your own language. When you speak in your own language, do you memorize what you say? No. So why should you do it in English? This argument is the same as saying, I'm addicted to cigarettes. I don't know. I don't want to smoke, but I'm addicted. It's too late. I'm addicted to cigarettes. I guess I have to keep smoking. No, you can stop. Try to stop. Buy some gum. Buy a patch. lock yourself in a room for 2 weeks. Whatever you have to do, stop. And then build the right habits going forward. This is quite a negative view on things. You're used to expressing yourself by memorization. That's a mistake. That's bad. Don't do that. You don't sound natural. Stop. And start from the beginning. It doesn't matter how slowly. Smoke 20 cigarettes a day, now smoke 18, then 17, then 15, then 10, then 5, then 1. Over time. Doesn't matter how slow it happens. It matters that you work toward it. That's the most important thing, right? So this is exactly the same. If you're in the habit of memorizing, you've done it the wrong way, and you need to fix it. So stop and start making the right steps. If you don't memorize in your language, which is probably what is true, you probably don't memorize in your language, then you shouldn't be doing that in English as well. And it might seem scary and hard, but if you look around, you'll see plenty of English learners are doing it, right? I talk to English learners every single day who are not memorizing what they say. They just try. And sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they feel silly. Sometimes they say something awkward. But so do I. I make mistakes. I say things that are awkward. I look silly. You have to let that go and just try. And the more you just try, then the better you will be, right? That's all there is. That's the secret to learning English, to just do it. I'm thinking of doing a video called a crazy clickbait video, learn English in 30 seconds, and just say that. I use TalkBack or VoiceOver. It's a built-in app for the blind and visually impaired. Alyssa Marie's... Oh, okay. So you're actually blind. I see. Well, listen. I didn't mean to be offensive when I pointed out your name, but I assumed that because the word totally is there, that has a kind of sarcastic, you know what I mean? Sarcastic sound when I read it. It sounds like a sort of sarcastic comment. Okay, I see. Well, if I may ask a few questions, Alyssa, and again, I hope I didn't hurt your feelings by pointing out the name thing. I certainly didn't mean it in any way like that. But so a couple questions, if I could ask. I'm very curious about this. So, how does it work when you're typing YouTube comments? You hear a comment and then type, but how do you send the comment? How does the system that you use know that you want to stop the comment and send the comment? That's question 1. Question 2 is, how do you control the device you use otherwise? Well, for example, moving the cursor around or selecting things or choosing things. For example, if you want to, I don't want to watch YouTube. I want to open another app and watch videos somewhere else, or I want to open a podcast somewhere. I'm curious how you change. I'm very curious about that, if you don't mind. Serge over here, what's your view about stuck-up people? Stuck-up people suck. That's my view. They're stupid. I don't like them. If you're stuck up, get out. The only stuck-up person around here is me. I saw in a movie, one of the characters, after saying the F word, said, "Oh, pardon my French. I would like to know, why did he say that? French." Ooh, very nice. Mary McCain, good question. Good question. But I know, so I can explain it, but let me just quickly find the exact origin. It means what bad. It means we use it for bad language. Anytime we use bad language, you'll hear people say, "Pardon my French." Oh, okay. I might just read from Wikipedia. Another phrase, ostensibly disguised profanity. Another phrase, utilize an attempt to excuse, use a present. Yeah. All the phrases often used without any explicit. Yes, where's the origin, though? Ah, okay. Very interesting. I know, you're watching me just read something. But... All right, so Mary McCain, John McCain's granddaughter, says, I saw in a movie one of the characters, after saying an F word, I'm sure you know what that is, say, "Oh, pardon my French. I would like to know, why did he say that French?" Okay. Now, the basic meaning of this is actually pretty simple. If we use, let's call them bad words, curse words, then we might want to apologize for them if we let them out accidentally. If we intentionally use them, we probably won't say sorry, right? If we say, and we're using a long line of expletives or bad words or curse words, then maybe we don't feel sorry for it, we don't care. But let's say I was walking with a couple of friends and their kids, and a bee came along and stung my arm, and I went, right, and said a bad word. Well, I might say, because their kids were listening, their parents might be, covering their ears, I might say, "Pardon my French." And it's used very, very often conversationally. And sometimes people say, "Excuse my French." It doesn't actually mean French, but, and I'll talk about the origin, it means I'm sorry for saying bad words. It doesn't matter what bad word you use. It could be any bad word. It could be the F word. It could be the C word. Whatever it might be. Generally speaking, if we want to say sorry for it, we want to acknowledge that we use bad words when maybe it's not appropriate, right? Giving a speech to 150 first grade students. And someone accidentally drops the F-bomb, is what we sometimes call it. Oops. Pardon my French. No, that's an extreme situation. That's a bad example. But anytime you're in conversation or you feel like you've used something that doesn't quite fit and it's related to a bad word, you can just say it. Pardon my French. Excuse my French. Okay. Now, where does it come from? Well, in the 19th century, it was used for actual French. If someone would use French in conversation, let's see, what would be a good one that people would use? The raison d'etre. Okay, that would be the raison d'etre. Oh, pardon my French, right? Maybe they would say that, for example. I don't know. Whatever they might say. Then they would apologize for using words that other people in the conversation might not know. Right? And so then they would say, "Oh, pardon my French." Now, this then gradually became, from the 19th century to now, used only for bad words. Gradually just sort of shifted in meaning. There you go. That's why. So the origin actually comes from France, or French rather, talking about actual French, not France, but talking about actual French and French. And the current meaning is to express acknowledgement and an apology for using bad words. This is a great example of how language changes and shifts over time, because it really does. Over time, language moves, and it's not always the same. And the things that a word might be used to express will, in 20 years, be different from today, right? For example, the C word. In America, this word is like dropping an atom bomb in a conversation. A lot of people will be shocked by it. If you go to the UK, people throw it around like nothing. So it has a different sort of connotation and different feeling to it. Different way that it's used. It changes. It all shifts over time. I think it's pretty interesting. Anyway, hopefully that answers your question, Mary McCain. If you haven't already, guys, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and check out my full English courses in the links in the description. Okay. Good. I like it. Good. French people are the best, says Saeed. Lolly Lolly says, hi, Saeed. Not very nice for French people. What is not very nice for French people? I don't think, pardon my French, Lolly Lolly, is meant to be offensive to French people. It's, in my understanding, a very sort of lighthearted and not meant to be. It's more about, people couldn't understand me, right? So I used a word or phrase that people couldn't understand, and I'm just apologizing for that because I'm speaking with English speakers. I don't think it's meant to be offensive to French people. Saeed, how's it going? But if you're offended, Lolly Lolly, let us know. We can talk about it. I'd like to know if that's offensive. I don't think it's not meant to be offensive, but yeah, let me know what you think. Your accent is very clear and understandable, but I can't see that clearly in movies I watch. Yes, because I'm not using a lot of cultural references that normally you would see in movies and normal conversations. There are many things that I am not saying. I'm deciding not to say. Oh, okay, but it seems that French are rude. No, it's not meant that way, Lolly Lolly. It's not. No, it's not. That's not what it means. It means no. It means. Okay. So, if I'm speaking a language to you that we both know well, and then I pop in a word that you're unfamiliar with, and you look at me like you're a little confused, then I might say, I'm sorry about that, right? It could be anything. So I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that it's French. It just happened to be that French in the 19th century was a very popular language to learn. In fact, the very opposite of what you said, it was cool to learn and know French. French culture, French art, French food, right? To use a few words of French was like the coolest thing that you could do. Especially in America, in the South, right? People were obsessed with seeming French and being more French. This was the high, because France was regarded as the high class, artistic, the peak of the pinnacle of culture, right? And so using French would not be to say that French people are rude, would be to say, I know this French word, you don't know it, and I'm sorry. So it's more like I'm kind of slightly the rude one by trying to show off that I know words that you don't know, and then I apologize for it to be kind of condescending. That's what it feels like. It's nothing about, because if Russian had been popular in the 19th century in America to learn, then people would say, pardon my Russian. If Japanese had been popular, people would say, pardon my Japanese. It doesn't matter. It just happens to be that French was in vogue in the 19th century. It was cool to learn in the 19th century in America. And so there you go. That's where it comes from. Could be any language, though. Just nothing about Frenchness that is related to the expression. There's no connection between the bad word part and the French part, I don't believe. When you want to ask the question, which one you're using, you ready or you're ready, for the sake of asking a question. Oh, you ready? You ready? Like to go, right? You ready to do this thing? You ready? You ready to go? You ready? Yeah. I'm sorry if I offended Lolly Lolly. Oh no. Oh no. Lolly Lolly is offended, but now she's not. Hooray! Alyssa says, don't worry, Luke. It's all good. Sometimes I don't use punctuation marks because I'm lazy. LOL. Did I miss a comment? Oh, I missed her comment earlier. Okay, let me read this. Whenever I tap my screen, the screen of my phone reads the buttons, comments, etc., aloud. It takes time to type with one finger. I don't have a physical... okay, got it. I sometimes use dictation when I'm texting. I'll just speak and then it'll dictate what I say. Sometimes I use that. That's interesting. Very interesting. I'd like to learn more about it. For example, learning English and what it's like to learn English as a blind person. What are the challenges? What are the struggles? What is unique about it? That's something I'm very interested in. If you are interested in talking more about it, Alyssa, with me, because I am genuinely curious, you can reach out to me, maybe on the Facebook group, Cloud English Facebook group, or you can, if you're interested in talking about it and sharing, if you're interested, you can email me at luke@cloudenglish.net. luke@cloudenglish.net is my email address. If you're interested in talking about it, I've been doing recently interviews with people, video Skype calls, talking with people about their language learning journeys. I did a cool one last week that I'm going to be posting soon. I'm going to do another one next week, and it's just interesting to have people share their experiences and their journeys. I personally like it. Is customer service a good career? Yeah, I mean, it can be. People who do customer service. My opinion is that it takes a certain type of person, right? I probably couldn't do customer service without ripping all my hair out on the first day, because I find it interesting. I've done customer service to a certain extent, but it was the kind of customer service that wasn't as frustrating as dealing with technical problems, for example. So it depends on what you do, and I think it also is a certain personality type. If that fits you, Pratik, if you feel like that's something you could do every day, and you like helping people, and it doesn't bother you when someone shouts at you because they're impatient, then it might be a good fit. Certainly, it can be a well-paid job. So it depends on what you're interested in, whether or not it would be good for you. Right? Saeed says, could you please explain about the actual method of asking questions and not using auxiliary verbs in forming it? Yeah. That's interesting, but I don't have a specific method. Yeah. Well, I might have to change the sort of the nature of the question, but I'm assuming you mean questions like, you want to go? You ready? That sort of thing, right? So Saeed says, could you please explain about the actual method of asking questions and not using auxiliary verbs in forming it, right? Like, are you coming over tomorrow? Will you be there tomorrow? That kind of thing, right? I'm assuming that this is your question. Can we, for let's say yes or no questions, can we leave out the verb at the beginning, are, do, to then replace it with nothing? And the answer is yes, but I wouldn't like to use the word method for doing it. I'd like to say there are certain things that we can say removing that in conversational English. So let's just focus on yes or no questions, all right? Now, we're not talking about questions that start with words like, what did you have for breakfast? And can you? Well, I guess that wouldn't be a good one. Why did you buy that? Why did you buy that? Now, forming those questions, what, why, how, where, still uses the same verb, right? Why do you? What are you? How can we? So we're still using that verb right after the what or the why or the how or the can, right? Forget not the can. The what, the why, the where, the what, the why, the where, the how, the who, and the when. Those are all of them. Yeah. We still put that verb there. So let's just talk about yes or no questions that start with a helping verb that we might be able to remove to ask a yes or no question correctly. Now, a simple way to do this is to just remove it and see if it makes sense with the question tone as it is, and then ask ourselves, is it very casual sounding? Can we always use it? Can we sometimes use it, right? An example I like to use is, are you hungry? But when we say it, we should probably say, are you hungry? Da-da-da-da. The answer is yes. I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten today. My God. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? Okay, so the are there is our verb that helps us form the question, the yes or no question. And then if we take it out, we might say, you hungry? You hungry? Or even, hungry? Hungry? Note the intonation of my voice rising up. Now, if we use the what words, the how, the who, the when, the where, the why, we don't need to use the same intonation. What are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow? So we're forming the same question plus what at the beginning. For those, we have to use what. We can't just delete it. We can't remove it. We need to have the what there. We need to form the whole question as it is with that little helping verb in there. It's necessary. It's necessary. Now, the main verb is, what are you doing tomorrow, right? So, what about things like ready, going? These common everyday things, it's very common for us to remove one or two words. Are you going tomorrow? Going tomorrow? Fine. Fine. Are you going tomorrow? Going tomorrow? Fine. Good. Good. Are you ready? Ready? Or, you ready? You ready? Now, I should sort of note that technically this is not considered good English. You ready? It's casual, it's informal, but in spoken English for these everyday tasks, asking about readiness, asking about hunger, asking about thirst, asking about common everyday things, we can often remove it, and we often do. But just note that it's not technically supposed to be correct, right? Coming? Are you coming? You coming? All fine. All fine. In spoken conversational English, we take off the helping verb, are, And we just say, you coming? You coming? Yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming. Or coming? Yeah, coming. Same question. Are you coming? Coming? You coming? All the same thing. Now, it is important to have the intonation there, right? How about this one? Did you buy it? This is past tense. This is kind of on the line, right? If we say, you buy it, buy it, that one doesn't quite work. Okay, so it's not something that's totally universal that you can just use all the time in any yes or no question. You can just delete the helping verb and it's fine, especially when we're talking about the past tense, right? But if we're talking about something that's going on now, as I mentioned, are you coming? Are you going? Are you hungry? Are you ready? The state, the status of something in the current time that we're in, the current situation that we're in. Usually, often it's okay, but there are sort of times when it works and times when it doesn't, and you have to just pay attention to when it does and when it doesn't, how people use it, right? I mentioned the past one, buy it, buy it. That sounds like something a baby would say. Buy it, buy it, buy it. Like your little child asked you to go buy a toy at the store, and you went to the store, and you came back, and your child doesn't see it, and they say, buy it, because they don't know how to say, did you buy it, right? But if someone says something is going on now or in the store now, do you want to buy it? Do you want to buy it? There we could shorten it to want to buy it, want to buy it, want to buy it. This is something that's happening now. We're saying it quickly. We want a response. Could we say, you want to buy it? You want to buy it? Not very common. Kind of weird. For that one, we'd probably start with wanna buy it. We might use wanna instead of want to. Wanna buy it? So just pay attention to when they're used. When they're not used, be careful. If you're using the question words like what and how and who, those sorts of words, you have to make the full question pretty much always. And you can remove for yes or no questions the initial helping verb. Just pay attention to examples when you cannot do that for those yes or no questions. This is a tough question. It's a good question. It's important to pay attention to this. You probably won't see many of these examples in writing or in documentaries because it's so conversational and it's so casual. Good question. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. And also, check out my full courses in the links in the description. Hopefully I answered your question. Saeed, it's a good one. How do I know when the S sound is Z and S? My big problem is pronunciation. There are certain trends, you know. It really comes down to paying attention to when it is and when it isn't. And there's no one rule that you can use to say, oh, it must be a Z sound, it must be an S sound. There are a lot of cases when you have the silent E, and then the sound before the silent E is voiced, then often the S, to make it plural, is going to be the Z sound. Homes. Homes. Weaves. Well, it's a verb, but weaves. That's just a form of the verb, right? Or another verb, moves, moves. lives, lives. Usually if we've got a voiced sound and we're using the long sound, the last sound in the word is voiced, and then it's either a form of the verb that's agreeing with, for example, she or he. So we need an S to agree, right? She moves. They move. There's no S after they move. There's no S. But if there's that verb in the form that agrees with he or she, for example, then because v is voiced, the last sound is voiced, then we're going to make, usually, we're going to make the S a Z sound. Often then, if that last sound is not voiced, like k or f, then we're going to not voice the S sound. We're going to make it the simple S rather than Z. So, for example, hits, T sound, right? Whiffs, unvoiced. So if that last sound is unvoiced, generally speaking, no rule applies to everything. This is the weird thing about pronunciation. You can't have say, oh, here's the rule. Now you know it forever. Go off into the world and use this. This is a general rule. That's how it works, right? So that's something that you can at least apply, generally speaking, when you've got those words where the last sound is voiced, and then you've got an S, especially for those words that are using the silent E, especially those words that are using the silent E. So yeah, that's a good one. That's a good question. Does that make sense? Actually, your little child inside is totally ready to learn the target language. A. What are the tips for students to start practicing pronunciation? Got to start paying attention. Self-awareness is key. Self-awareness. Become very, very self-aware of the shapes and the things you're doing with your mouth. Exactly what are you doing with your mouth? If you do that, that's the beginning step. Step 2, take my American English pronunciation course in the links in the description. That's also a very important step. And it's step 2. Thanks, Hall West. I appreciate it. Cartoons. Oh, yeah, cartoons are good for kids, for sure. For sure. Comedy and cartoons are one of the best ways to learn. Cartoons are great. I recommend having your kids watch cartoons. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. You know what? I think it's time for me to have some breakfast. It's 4:30 p.m. I'm very hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet. So I'm going to do that. Thanks, guys, for all of your good questions. I really appreciate it. A lot of interesting ones today. Thanks for being patient as well during the Reddit part. Make sure you guys are subscribed and following so that you can see future live classes happening. We do 2 or 3 a week. And also make sure that you hit the like button. I would really deeply, sincerely, genuinely, honestly appreciate that. And if you're interested in seriously learning long-form courses to really improve, make an investment in yourself, check out my courses. I spend a lot of time on those. That's my job. So if you want to support me, support the channel, and improve your English, consider buying a course or signing up for the monthly membership. The monthly membership. Where can I find your American pronunciation course? Oh, I didn't know. What a wonderful question. Let me show you. Let me show you. Let me show you. So we recently launched a new site, which I can show you here. Let me pop over. Let me change my view. Now here's the website. If you go to the main page of the website, this is the new website. These are the courses here. Okay, you can sign up for the courses individually if you want. This is the pronunciation course right here. American English Pronunciation. This is my most popular course. This is a 15-hour course. This is a 3-hour course. Building Your English Brain. This is a 3-hour course. This is a 3-hour course that's connected to this one. So once you finish this one, I would suggest taking this one. 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours. These are kind of all linked together. This is what to start. This is where you want to start, probably. These 3 here. Then this one is sort of a slightly higher level. And then if you're specifically trying to improve your job interview English, you want to check out this one. That's only for that. This is the customer service course. This one is 6 hours long. These English slang courses are connected together, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each of these is between 6 and 7 hours long. So that's how the courses work. Now, once you actually go into a course, so let's say we pop into the pronunciation course here, you can preview the first few lessons. So if for example, I want to preview this, I'll hit preview on the intro, and you'll see a thinner version of myself from when I made this course. And you can see on the left side here are all the lessons, and you can play it and you can watch the first couple of lessons. Okay, that's the basic idea. And you can buy the course here, right? You put in your email address, and then you can buy it with PayPal or card, however you want to do it. Or if you think, wow, all of these courses sound good, I'd like to just kind of access all of them, you can go to membership, and then you can choose this one. So this one is a free membership. You can do that, but you only have access to a course that's already on YouTube. It's a 1-hour course. It's free access. You can access these recent blog posts, and you can access one hour, 58-minute course for free. If you want to access the pronunciation course or any of those other courses, then you want to choose this level, and it's $11.99 per month. And you can access all courses, and the value of these courses is $3.99. If you want to buy them all, you can do that. But you can, if you want to just do month to month, you can do that. So that's how it works. Thanks for asking. So guys, I appreciate you all. I hope that you are here for the next one. We'll probably be doing another one very soon, so make sure you subscribe so that you can see that. And again, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.